What's up? My name's Glue Boy. Welcome back to the channel and more book stuff. Today we're talking about the book Legion by Dan Abnett, a book I really like, actually. I love this book a lot. It's not my favorite of the Horus Heresy. I still think like the first three and then Fulgrim are like absolute peak, but I mean, it's a Dan Abnett novel at the end of the day, and Dan Abnett is the fucking man. But I think another reason, actually, why I enjoy this book so much is because it is an absolute breath of fresh air when it comes to reading the Horus Heresy, especially right after Descent of Angels, which, as I stated in my last video, that book was mind-numbing and a slog to go through, because the entire thing felt like it was insulting my intelligence and assuming I've never read a book or seen a story before. But in this, Dan Abnett actually writes under the assumption that you understand basic plot points and metaphors and imagery and allusions, like a lot of, literary devices. He understands that his reader probably fucking knows what those are. And it also helps. I really like Dan Abnett's actual style. I think he has a really, really cool style. And the one part I really enjoy, especially picturing it, because in every video, I am not an authority on literary shit. I am a film man at heart. That is my subject matter I understand. That's the art I understand. Books, I read them, but the method I actually utilize to fully get the book and like pay attention the whole time while I'm listening to it through Audible is I picture how I would film it. If I was making a TV adaptation of the book, how would I actually do that? And one of the things Dan Abnett does a lot that I really enjoy is he doesn't stop the flow of dialogue or a scene to explain beat by beat what a character is doing. Like in a dialogue, a character will react to another character doing something rather than the flow stopping and saying such and such did this and then, the next bit of dialogue. It trims that so it feels very succinct, like you're actually listening to people talk. And that's actually Dan Abnett's strong suit. He's really good at writing the people and like the personal element of just regular humans, aside from like Space Marines. I think that's where he excels. I mean, obviously the man wrote like Gaunt's Ghosts and stuff. He actually wrote the book on how Imperial Guard stuff is. I found an interview with Dan Abnett before that actually, a fun little fact, a lot of the jargon that Imperial Guard say is written by Dan Abnett because he came up with all that while writing Gaunt's Ghosts. And in this book, especially since it's covering the Alpha Legion, it's actually pretty dope that we're not following the Alpha Legion the entire time. I don't think there's actually an Alpha Legion character that we fully like focus on or follow for a long period of time. At the most, you get bits of Alfarius where he's like interacting with other characters, but it's usually through the lens of the other character. And that's the perspective you're getting, which leaves the Alpha Legion more mysterious and weird since it's kind of their thing. And speaking of like the characters, oh my god, a lot of these characters are so fun. Bronzy, I adore that man. He is a delight whenever he starts talking, especially in the Audible version, whereas he's very like thick, vulgar kind of way of speaking, and he is so fun. All of his dialogue is just so much character in it. They feel like people again, and it's so nice. And I absolutely adore Alfarius and Omegon in this. For the bits where I'm pretty sure that was Alfarius, and I'm pretty certain that was Omegon, because there's some parts where it's a bit up in the air, because it's Alpha Legion, and you get the I am Alfarius, every single one is. But Alfarius is a really cool guy. He's really chill, surprisingly chill, as he's very passive, but he's the kind of guy that's very quiet, and has actively planned every encounter that he's going to have to deal with, or is fully prepared, which I think is seen in a really fun method when he actually interacts with the Cabal for the first time, and has set up an entire thing of, oh no, I'm fully prepared, we're talking on my fucking terms. You want to talk to me, you're going to have to play by my rules. Super cool. And a lot of his interactions are also just great with regular people, and then You also get Omegon, and Omegon is also really fun. I think he makes up for Alpharius's kind of like chill, more restrained vibe, and for the parts, especially with the Cabal, Omegon is pretty quick to like want to do some violence. And there's also a part where I'm pretty sure, I think, that Omegon was playing Alpharius and vice versa during like a big meeting they were having. And in that moment, Omegon was there, but it wasn't Alpharius. It's so complicated. But, you know, who needs these Primarchs? Who cares? Because this book has my new, or one of my new, favorite 40k, 30k, whatever, Warhammer characters ever. Fucking John Grammaticus. I adore John Grammaticus. This guy rules so fucking hard. As like, oh my god. It's also very rare, because John Grammaticus is a perpetual. He's a created perpetual. But he's a perpetual, and I don't like them. Mainly, though, I don't like characters that are perpetuals that were then later given the tag of perpetual, because it's the same thing with Living Saints. I don't like a tag that is meant to be written in reverse, that almost, like, justifies how cool they are, but to me it undermines it. Like, yeah, oh, this really cool character did all this fantastic shit, and then you're like, damn, they're so cool. They're just a regular person that rose to the occasion and did all that. That's so fun. I love that. Regular people. And then later, Games Workshop's like, oh yeah, no, they were empowered by such and such. That's the only reason they did any of that. It's like, oh, okay, well, I care less now that they're just like kind of born magical. They're like a weird chosen one. I care more about people working hard and getting their goals rather than kind of being gifted to them. But I don't know. John Grammaticus, though, is an exception because he's written to be that. And there's a lot of points where he's like, he's super ancient, he has full control of his body, he is a really smart guy, he's lived a lot of lives. I mean, his like actual like first life, he served the Emperor in the Unification Wars and actually met the guy. But other than that, he's a really cool psyker, and he's finally the dashing rogue type character. This man is literally what I play in like D&D and shit. He's the high charisma like rogue who is so fucking arrogant in a fun way. As there's a part that immediately made me fully love John Grammaticus. It's a part where he's spying on Alpharius during a dinner they were having with the general of this like battle fleet. And he was watching from a rooftop when one of these like super elite guard, the Lucifer Blacks, is like investigating. It's like, that's super weird. There's like a security dead spot up there. I bet there's a guy up there. There's like a spy going around. I bet it's him. And when he gets there, John's not there, but he left a note of like, try again next time. And I love that. And then like right after, it's John being like, why the fuck did I do that? That was so stupid. I was just like caught in the moment, just wanting to fuck with him. And I adore that. That, and also I think he's a really cool psyker, as his like psychic powers are really interesting. He's like an iconotype? Whatever, I don't know the type of psyker it is. I forget the actual like, I don't know, magic schools that Warhammer has. But primarily his psychic powers are all about like language and speech, as he can suggest things to you psychically, make you believe things when he says it. Also, a fun little thing, he can actually pick apart somebody's language in the way they speak. So if he hears a language, he immediately is like fluent in it, which leads to some fun stuff, because John Grammaticus is a member of the Cabal, a group of a Xenos organization that are like the powers that be, kinda, very like Illuminati, but like ancient Xenos species, and like lots of Eldar bullshit. But like, he mentions that like, yeah, he can understand a lot of different Xenos like languages. The problem is sometimes he doesn't have the organs to even say them, which leads to some interesting situations where he's had to deal with. But primarily, a lot of his stuff is used as, like, the charismatic, like, mage, and he's just casting, like, charm spells and, like, friends and all that stuff. And, like, there's great moments where he just, like, walks in a situation, and they're like, shit, who are you? And he's like, such and such. And he, like, throws a name at them. They're like, oh, okay, you are that person, I see. I get it. And then that's what they see. I really like this psychic ability. I think it's super fun. John Grammaticus is the type of guy I would 100% be playing if I was given the opportunity to play in a 40k like tabletop RPG game, like Dark Heresy, like Wrath and Glory, any of those, I would probably play a character like John. And also, like, speaking of John, he is a member of the Cabal, and the Cabal is something I've heard a lot of really bad things about. I don't see it. I don't see the hate. And it's the same with John Grammaticus. I don't see the reason to actually hate them. They both seem really interesting. I mean, John I adore because he appeals to, like, the character types I really like. That's the kind of guy I just like reading about. And then the Cabal, like, yeah, they're doing shit. They're trying to mess with the powers that be, but, like, I don't understand what people have to hate about it. It just seems very normal and tame. Like, yeah, there's a Xenos group trying to fuck with the Horus Heresy because it's a giant fucking problem, and it's a problem for a lot of people. And besides, like, I know later, Eldrad eventually will kill them all, but... And any more excuses to see Eldrad I'm into, because that man is the only cool Eldar. But at this rate, I'm worried to find out what the Cabal's problem is, because I assume down the line it's going to get a little rough. If there's that many people that hate it that bad, I assume then there's some later books in the series that aren't great. And the Cabal are kind of dumb or doing some really stupid shit. I know for a fact their actual motivations and the reason they're trying to stop the Horus Heresy, like, one, it's a great reason. They want to, not have the galaxy taken over by chaos and stagnating eternally like current 40k lore. But, like, I'm pretty sure they had a really dumb fix for the problem. A fix dumb enough that Eldrad was like, you guys are being a bunch of morons, and killed them all. I don't know. We'll see. And it's the same thing with the Alpha Legion that I guess I'm worried about too. Because I have a friend that I talk to about the Horus Heresy a lot, because he's also reading through them. I think similarly at a rate I am. I think we're actually pretty neck and neck right now of, like, books we're currently working on. He's mentioned his problems with this book, and I think fair enough. One of the things he mentions is going forward, John Grammaticus is a really good character to have around when Alpha Legion are doing shit. Because, the whole thing with the Alpha Legion is, like, proper Hydra Dominatus, sleeper agents, what is real, everything's a lie. Like, that's the fun of them. But the problem is when you don't have a character or a method in your story to be like 100%, hey guys, this is true. These parts are the true things. Because John Grammaticus can tell Alpharis and Omegan apart. He can actually, like, verify that the people are who they say they are. And apparently later down the line, some Alpha Legion stuff becomes really confusing. Even in, like, internal narration, it gets really, like, contradictory, to the point where sometimes you just have to sit down and figure out, like, what the fuck is happening and who is who and what is going on. I'm worried about that, but, I mean, if it at least has more of the vibe of this book, because this book is so fucking Alpha Legion-y in such a fun way. Like, a lot of the scheming, the plans, the double agents, like, all of that stuff was so cool. I was a massive fan of this. Though I also don't think this is my favorite Dan Abnett book. I've read books by him that I think are way better. Just stuff like, the Gregor Eisenhorn book and Horus Rising, I think, are probably his best work, like, ever. I haven't read, Gaunt First and Only yet, so I'll get to that eventually. But it's like, this book is my least favorite in a bunch of, books that I love. Because I really like this book. I still think it's, like, an 8 out of 10. Compared to, like, the 10 out of 10 that is, like, Horus Rising and Eisenhorn. But, like, I still really like it. I had a great time with this book. So, those of you in my comments who kept shouting it out, like, yeah, you're right, this book rules. I'm a massive fan. And, I'm also very excited, because right now I'm working on Battle of the Abyss, which I've also heard very fun things about. And I've heard and some attempts to sell me on it have completely fucking worked, because holy shit, it seems so interesting. Some of the characters in there I feel like I'm going to fall in love with. I think there's a Space Wolf and a World Eater that apparently I'm just going to, like, adore following. But, yeah, this is a lot of me just gushing about how much I like this, because I didn't really have many problems with this book, to be honest. I think the general story of it was fine. I think it was the, like, weaker part. Like, the plot itself was, it was alright. But I think a lot of how it's built up and the characters that exist in it completely carry it past a story where, like, I just didn't vibe with completely. I don't think it was bad. I was just like, this is a plot. I more enjoyed the characters interacting in the story rather than like the actual plot progressing, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. But yeah, that's gonna be it. If you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff. Join membership, and see ya.